Tyler's gonna get kicked off, and we're live. Tyler, you don't have good internet like
Jase, where
Jace.
do you live?
Junction City, Oregon. It's about 10 minutes north of Eugene.
Okay. Are you from there?
I am from Eugene, Oregon. So, yeah, pretty close by. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, he's also a radio host.
1037 KNRQ.
Perfect. Legit. We got one watcher. I bet you it's Cody. He was just here in the gym doing GHGs and deadlifts.
Cody's there?
He left.
Ah, damn. I was going to talk some mad shit to him.
Not today. He did good today. Oh, there he is. Little kissy face. Sophia, it's me. All right. Well, I don't know where everyone else is. Heather's getting her nails done. Embarrassing. We're gonna have Jase on, which he's here, the infamous. Let's hoping more people be on. I bet you people are waiting. They're just waiting for the CrossFit Games workout release. That's what's happening. The live. Oh, it's already went live. Four rounds of time. Hammer strikes. 14 sandbag throw. Get over the tire. 5 tire flips. That's cool. I didn't watch this. Did you watch it, Jace?
No, I don't really like to watch all that live crap. They just waste a whole lot of time, and then I just look at the Instagram highlight reels later.
Oh, come on. How are you supposed to learn? I mean, they are showing Dave hug people. He's just like hugging. Oh, no, I'm going to hug everyone. Oh, hello, hi. Hello, hi.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Give me a hug. Oh, he didn't hug Samuel Quant? What a jerk. Or Horvath going to get, he hugged Brandon Luckett.
That reminds me of that Key and Peele skit where they're pretending Obama's dapping up everybody,
Yeah.
but only the black dudes.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm going to fast forward. Everyone bear with us. If you haven't seen this, it was live 26 minutes ago. They got an old school tire out, bringing it back. CrossFit days of the olden days. All right, let's see. Okay, tire flip. Easy. That's such a light tire. Here, I'll just do it like this so then people can see.
Yeah, I throw those around all day at work.
Inception. What do you think that is? 200 pounds? Like not really that heavy.
Yeah, not too bad. Maybe 200 pounds. They're just more awkward than anything. But with those big old tread lugs on there, it's usually pretty easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, you get a good grip. I mean, makes sense. They could have made something cooler, like a mini pig, like a piglet. There's the men's wheel.
I bet you it's really nice for like logistically because you can just flip the tire up and roll it. Yeah, like that, like those guys just did.
Let's see. Hold on. He's got the sledge. All right. Let's see. What? That's it? 2, 3, 4.
Okay, that's a stupid movement.
5. I mean, you see people do it in CrossFit gyms like all over.
Yeah, but that's a movement to burn calories. Like, there's no way to judge effort in a tire slam.
To burn calories. Well, I mean, in the 2009 games, they had the sledgehammer drive that everyone talks about still and laughs about it, where they had the spikes and you had to drive 2 spikes in or 3 spikes in. But then everybody talks about it because some of the spikes wouldn't go in because the ground, they didn't check the ground. So some people were like hitting like a rock and just stopping.
Is there a piece of concrete underneath mine? What the hell's going on?
I don't know. Well, they got to do 15 hammer strikes, but I want to know what the standard is, because it's you should have to get the head of the hammer behind you at least, like in toes to bar, how your heels have to break the plane.
Yeah,
it'd be easy enough to judge that if the hammer just went behind her shoulder there. Oh God, this is gonna make CrossFit look really stupid. I mean, it could have been good in theory. In theory, it's good, but look at her. Look at Tristan Smith do this. What is she doing? Oh, the internet memes. This is me, great. Hold on, let's go. Let's go to the sandbag throw though. Let's see if I can get it. Say something cool while I try to get this. They're actually doing the 50 sledge hits. You guys got anything? I'm trying to scroll it.
Yeah, I still just maintain that the sledgehammer hits are really hard to judge effort on. So it's like
Effort. I mean, they're not really judging anything. They're just
I know it's
50
just
times.
yeah. I've done the tire slam thing in garage workouts, and I think it's cool. But you can lackadaisically just drop a hammer on a tire and whatever. But like, there's a really big difference between that and like using effort to slam the sledgehammer down onto the tire. So I just think it's
yeah, but like, look how Colton's throwing this bag. It's like sideways, and you have to get over the. I mean,
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, like in theory, I guess it's just because they're the work capacity in it. The only problem I have with this, like, it's cool. Like, if you look at it outside of the context that they're going to do Chad and do box step overs, that you're just making them do farm work, which is fine. Flip the tire or the hay bale, swing the hammer. Like, they could have, oh man, I know this gets crazy, but like, they could have had some rogue implement where you're like chopping wood. And like every time, like, you gotta.
I feel like if they were going to do a hammer swing, like something where you could drive a sled with a hammer, that would be better.
Well, they've done the banger.
Mm-hmm. I like those.
And 2017, which I thought that's what it was when I read the description, but legit, like, they're just, that's whatever. I mean, it's on a Thursday, so like, not like it's a marquee event, but Dave definitely didn't lie to us.
So are the elites going to be doing that workout or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. 4 rounds, 50 hammer strikes, 14 sandbag throws, get over the tire, and 5 tire flips. That's it. That's the workout. So, all right. Well, waiting for that. Not very exciting. But I mean, they're going to run, swim, do that, and then Amanda 45. It's not too bad of a day. Sweet. All right. You guys excited for the CrossFit Games?
Yeah. I love competition.
How much of it do you watch, Jase?
Not a whole lot. I wish I could watch more of it. It was really fun last year when I got to go to the CrossFit Games, because then you could like watch every single event live. But sitting there in front of my phone, just like watching it there, is really frustrating to me. So I usually
Why is it frustrating?
I don't know, like probably like the camera angles or who I want to watch, or like the timing of how and when events happen. Like, it's not like you got all the live stuff there and you can touch things and feel things, and go to the vendors in between events. So like having to sign in at like 11:45 and watch the live event, I just don't really like it all that much. But all the highlight stuff, like I like to watch like the endings of heats and things, and how people move from piece to piece and transition. I really like those, so I like to watch the highlights.
All right. What else do you look for when you watch it?
I like really close photo finishes and watching people kind of grit it out right near the end. Like in semifinals with the dumbbell lunges right there at the end, and people are hanging on and their grips blown up from trying to hang on to unbroken ring muscle ups, and then all of a sudden now they got these 100-pound dumbbells that they're lunging with, and 2 steps before the end you see a guy drop it because he's at complete failure and just couldn't hang on. Like, I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting. How many guys dropped it because of their grip relative to the guys who didn't? Would you say the majority of people had a grip issue, or the minority?
I would probably. I didn't watch the earlier heats, so in all honesty. So I'd say
yeah, 10 out of 10. 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd say the minority.
Yeah, that's all. It's interesting you say that. I always argue with athletes about that, because everyone always says like grip fatigue. Like, you hear it in the gym too. People are like, oh, my grip blew up. It's like, oh, I got to work on my grip. I'm like, well, your grip's genetic to a degree. You can increase it by like 10 to 15%, but realistically, like, you're kind of stuck with what you got. But yeah, is 15 ring muscle ups hard for you?
I have never done 15 unbroken ring muscle ups.
Really?
So yeah,
You're just not. I guess it's probably never come up realistically yet in the situation. Maybe they'll have it at a desert game, so then you could, or desert classic, so you can try it out.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind trying it out. Harley has been programming a lot of ring muscle up stuff. That's gymnastics and long zone tuned pieces is essentially all I train. I get a little bit of
probably more like rounds for time and sustainable effort, where you're not like trying to hit something like maximal effort and race. You're just like doing a 2-minute workout. You're doing something longer.
Yeah. So just the other day, I think Monday actually, I did 4 rounds of 20 calorie assault bike at 75 RPM or echo bike at 75 RPM into 10 unbroken ring muscle ups for 4 rounds. And then I got 3 minutes of rest in between.
Nice.
So
yeah. So you could do 15.
Just never tried.
You can do. If you can do that, you can do 15.
That was kind of a miracle day. I don't know how that happened. Usually they don't hold together that well, but minute 34 rounds was pretty exciting for me. I was happy.
Yeah, it's good. That means you're doing. I mean, it takes about 2.5 seconds per muscle up from like hang to dip. So that's about right. It's good. You're at like top speed, especially if you're getting the 20 calories. I mean, you could do the 20 calories way faster, but at 75 RPM, it's going to take you what, 40 something seconds?
I can flatten myself with 20 calories on a bike.
Yeah, I was doing 12 in 10 seconds today, but that's the intention of like the power piece I was doing.
I remember a couple of years ago, I did 50 calories in 1 minute on the Echo bike, and then I crawled across the floor.
Rogue test.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a rogue test. I tried it and I crawled across the floor.
Actually, I guess people could argue about this, but actually it's an Invictus test. So originally, CJ Martin, I've had athletes do this, had the 50 calories on the assault bike. And what you would do is like, you would say, okay, you got to do, and at the time people weren't as fit. So it was like, okay, you got to do 50 calories in under 90 seconds. And if you don't, you have to then rest like 3 minutes. And then you got to do 40 calories, and we would drop the time and we drop the calories. And it was like, when you're done, like you're either you tap out or you're done. And at the time, again, it was tough, right? Because fitness isn't where it is now. Because like that's easy at this point. Like a lot of people can do 50 calories in under a minute on an Echo bike and an assault bike. So, but yeah, and then Rogue has had it. I think Marissa's 50 cal. I have to look. I could look it up. If you guys talk about something, I could find it on the Rogue because she did it and put her score in. But I think it's like a minute 12.
Yeah, there was a video of me curled up in a corner after that, just sobbing my eyes out because I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Do you remember how long it took you to get up and move?
Oh, you're bad internet. You got to pay for better internet, man. What's happening?
Yeah, I didn't hear a word of what he said.
A little bit. Try again.
Do you remember how long it took you before you were able to get up and be normal again?
I think it was about an hour.
Nice.
Strong effort.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things that I remember leveling me like that. That was one. And then Harley programmed a 3-rep max deadlift. And after that, I was so smoked. I think it took me like an hour and a half or 2 hours to even stand up straight after that. I just didn't want to move.
Dang.
Try and find this here. Keep talking. Want to know the exact score
The exact score of
Marissa's
Oh, okay, yeah.
50 cal.
Yeah, I remember one of the coaches at the affiliate came over to me after that deadlift, and he's like, "You gonna be all right, dude?" And I'm like, "I sure hope so. I got a lot more training today, so."
Dude, of course, the one time it just gets like stuck and won't change it from male to female. I mean, they typically have a pretty good leaderboard, but yeah, it was in 2022. If the leaderboard would load, stuck on men right now, but we'll see. Cool. Well, Jase, we brought you on to talk about a stellar performance. So we had a workout that is a .com workout, and it's a 2-2-2-3 interval. of 10 snatches, any style, but it was power at 135.95, 10 lateral burpees over the bar into, you have to either max calories because you don't make it in all of those intervals, or 50 cals for men, 40 for ladies. And we have a group on site that trains. Before we started, I said, I know a lot of girls that could do this in one round. There are men that could do it, but it'd be really tough. It definitely tougher for the men than the women, for sure. Especially if you get like a Laura Horvath's going to come in and smoke that, and someone of that archetype is going to be able to do that. And there's a lot more women like that than there are men. And then Jase went ahead and did it in one round. And we were at Sophia's. We're having a get together for Sophia leaving because she's going off to college. And the score comes in on our Slack, and they were all like, "What the heck? How did you do it?" And I was like, doing the math. I'm like, we'll go on the Concept 2 website and like just put in, let's say, 2,100 cals per hour. And it was like, it gives you the time when you do that on Concept 2. And Marissa was like, "Oh yeah, it's like possible." I was like, "Yeah, I know it's possible." Like that's how I knew it was like 2,100 cals. It just depends on whether he was able to hold that for like a minute to a minute 20, and then depending on whether or not what time you got off. So Jase did it, and then he redid it. Was it the next day?
No, that was later that afternoon.
Oh, later that afternoon.
And probably what you didn't know is I was at a bachelor party all weekend. So that night
I did know that.
Yeah, I was out till 4 a.m. So that was a not very well recovered day. So,
all right. I don't think this has anything. We'll just share that and then see how this goes here. Can I make this bigger?
Oh, you got the whole video.
I can. Is this
cool? Let's
see. All right, we got the comments here. We'll try to not incriminate anyone. All right.
The comment section got wild.
That's okay. All right, so we got Jase here. Can you hear
Jase
that
Brooks, and this is for doubting me.
Could you guys hear that?
Suckers.
Good. See, we have a good attitude around here. We mess around. All right. So he's going to start. Okay. So before we start, so you did it, and then you're going to do it later that evening. Once you first did it, and then there was the doubt, like what? Just walk us through that, and then don't go any further than that. So you did the workout. Well, tell us about the workout first. You see it on Thursday, and then tell us about that.
So I saw it on Thursday, and I knew that I was going to be at this bachelor party, and I didn't have anything programmed for Sunday. And I immediately texted Harley, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I'm going to do this in under 2 minutes." And he said, "No, you're not. That's not possible."
Oh, my.
And I was like, okay, fine. Maybe it's not possible, but I'm going to do this on Sunday because I'm going to beat Cody's ass in this.
Nice.
So he's like, okay, whatever, dude. Like, this isn't going to go well for you because you're going to be out drinking all weekend. And like, I don't drink. Like, I've given that up, but
yeah, me too. Good on you.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's a class 3 carcinogen. Like a why? Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, it's terrible for you. But you know, my buddy's getting married, and I wanted to have a good time with him. So
sure.
He's like, that's a terrible idea. So then I was like, fine, well, I'll do it on Sunday. And I was like, I don't have to get this done in one round because Cody didn't. So on Thursday.
All right. So you already, because you looked at the scores, you're already like, all right, I don't have to get this done in one round because Cody didn't.
Yeah.
So a little bit of doubt because somebody else didn't do it.
Okay. But Harley told me that I was going to have to row pretty hard. So yeah, I just went into the workout knowing I was going to have to give a good effort, and I somewhat screwed up the workout because I did bar facing burpees instead of lateral burpees on the first go.
Okay.
But I knew the transitions were important, so I transitioned quickly and then hopped on the rower and started pulling pretty hard, but left just a little bit in the tank to make sure that when the snatches came back around that they'd be unbroken again.
Got it. Okay. So for the round 2 that you thought you'd have to do.
Yeah. So I knew if I got into round 2, if I had smoked myself on that row, I wasn't going to stand back up.
So you got, how many calories did you get in the first round on the first go?
So I don't know. Does rollover count?
Sure. In
Okay.
this scenario, sure.
Yeah, I figured it did.
Depends on the
I counted it.
competition, and it depends on like what they say. But for this, yeah, sure.
Yeah, because it's just too hard to turn the rower on and off and
Yeah.
everything. So it was 46 calories after the rollover. So I got
Oh, okay.
45 before the end of the minute, and then it rolled over to 46. And at that point, I turned to the guy because I dropped in at this place. And I turned to him and I said, I got 46 calories.
Should have did it in one.
Yeah, I was like, I should have just freaking sent that. So then I was like, well, crap. Now I got to do this again and do more snatches and burpees.
Yeah. So now okay. So this is good. So originally you were like, hey, I'm going to do this in one round. And then Cody not doing it kind of dampened it because you're just, competing with him. But you did have what I call like imagination to think, or like the Roger Bannister effect. Like, I'm going to run the sub 4-minute mile, right? To do it. And then, there's a lot of like doubt. Cody didn't do it. Harley said that's going to be really tough and challenging and almost near impossible. And then you get close. Like, what did in that? I don't know. It was only a 1-minute rest, so like it's not a lot of time to think. But in hindsight, was there anything going on where you're like thinking there of like how that played out for you, or how did that shape the rest of your thought process?
I knew I was just going to finish it at that point. I wanted to be unbroken on the snatches, so I just did that again. I mean, those were probably the ugliest snatches of my life, but I went unbroken on them and just did the burpees and then hopped on the rower, and it was a sluggish row because I was pretty smoked. And I think I only hit like 2,000 calories per hour at peak for those 4 calories. So I just knew I had to reel in the finish at that point and that I was going to finish in a good time. So I wasn't too worried about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you, what do you think like got you to think that was possible to do it in one round? Like, how did you come up with that?
So I knew that on the assault bike or the Echo bike, when I did that 50 calories in a minute, I was like, hey, if I can do 50 calories in a minute on an assault bike, I'm going to have more than a minute on this rower. I think I can grit this out and just rip that chain until I hit the 50 calories. And Harley was like, yeah, it's not really possible after doing 10 snatches and burpees at max speed. I was like, I think it is.
Do you know what time you had on the first attempt, like to get to the rower?
I want to say it was somewhere around, I think I had like a minute 10 to a minute 15 on the rower.
All right. So I think you had 123 on the second go.
Yeah. And my rower was off. I turned it on the first go, but by the time I got to it, it was off.
Yeah, that happens. That happens.
So, yeah.
All right. Cool. And then you post your score. Everyone calls you a liar. And
that's essentially what happened. I was so pissed.
People are like, hey, you don't have a video. It didn't happen. I mean, rightfully so, right? It's like, It's like, wow, that's really fast. Like, not, I mean, what did that then do? So like, you're like, okay, well, I did this, but it is, I don't want to say inhuman, because like I told everybody and I laughed because I was like, I fucking told you guys that it's possible, and when I told you when we first started with like the 13 or 14 people we had doing it. So like, when your score went up, I wasn't surprised because I already like knew that it's possible, and I know it's possible only because the data that I've collected over the years and the people I've coached, but it's got to be a thing where like the person has to make it possible. So like once people doubted you, then what? Then what was like your thought process there?
I was like, I already had a couple of things go wrong in this workout. If I had 10 more seconds to row on that first one, I would have got it. And when I reread the workout and saw that it was lateral burpees, I was like, oh shit, like I just made up 3 seconds right there. And then, I talked to Shannon. She's like, you can do it at my house. And I was like, if you can make sure that rower's on, that nets me another 3 seconds. I was like, 6 extra seconds and a couple of extra hard pulls. Like, I think this is really possible to do in one go.
What sport background do you have?
I I played basketball growing up when I was young, all the way up until 8th grade. I wasn't very good at it.
So tall, though.
Yeah. I mean, I was point leader on the team, but I was just a big man.
Yeah.
So
All right.
they just threw me the ball and I was tall enough to lay it up. So I wasn't very good at basketball. And then
you were Shaquille O'Neal, but look how that worked out. All right. Anyways, go ahead. Then after 8th grade, what did you do?
I got into high school and I started to wrestle.
Oh, that's right. You were wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay. Because that's not something that, I mean, the point system is where it is, and you get like 1 and 2 points and stuff like that. But like, it's not like track. I thought maybe you had some exposure to track.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I ran track. Middle school track. I was pretty decent at it.
What events?
I did when you're in middle school, you just do every event that you can sign up for, right? In high school, it was...
What events were you good at?
The 800.
Okay.
I think I won that in 8th grade by 300 meters or something like that.
Nice. Yeah. So just blowing doors off people.
Mm-hmm.
I just asked because the seconds, right? So like, was that something that you learned through CrossFit to evaluate that way, or learn over time, or like in your external life? Did Harley help you with that? Like, where did that come from? Because that's one of the harder things that as a coach, I try to get across to people, and I want to know how you cultivated that. I think track could do it because obviously you're playing with hundredths of a second, depending on the event you do. And sometimes like seconds. And if you're doing like 5Ks, 10Ks, like minutes, but it's all kind of relative through the distance. So like, did you get any of that from that, or how did you start learning like, okay, these seconds matter? Like I got 3 seconds on these burpees because now the lateral not facing. And then if the rower's on, I get 3 seconds back. Like, how did you cultivate that as an athlete?
Honestly, 100% of that comes from Shanna and training alongside her.
Okay, so I'm going to take that credit. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so Shanna, so keep going. That's good.
So yeah, she, anytime that we do these Send It Saturdays, or before I joined in with the pack, I would hop in on her training, and she would always set all her stuff up like inches away from each other. I'm like, isn't that going to screw you? Like, why is it so close? Like, set it over there. And she goes, no, you watch, young buck. Like, sure, you're strong and all, but I'm about to blow your doors off. And she would, and watching her, I kind of learned those seconds, and you find that the seconds matter so much more as the time frame decreases in the workout. So in this 2-minute workout, I know if I take 2 extra breaths before I go on that rower, I wouldn't have made it. Yeah.
No, it's good. I'm glad Shanna's in tune with that. I mean, that's one of her marquee characteristics about herself. She's very analytical. I mean, she's a doctor, so it makes sense, but we've worked on a lot of that. It's like, you're not, and she knows this, and it's not a slight, like, and she said on multiple podcasts, like, she's not an athlete, so we got to make up for it somewhere else. Because there are people who are highly athletic in the sport, individuals and master sides that come from huge backgrounds, and they know how, like, errors are happening, but because they're so athletic, they can just like, bobble through it and make up for that. Whereas like, if you're not, super athletic, it's like, oh, you're just like dropping the ball all over the place. And she's learned that, like, okay, I don't got time for that. We've worked on it. And that's how she just like comes in and kind of dominates people. Also with her engine is very powerful.
Her engine is awesome.
That helps. But yeah, no, that's good. Okay, cool. So like a quality training partner that is working really hard on the details, and then you just kind of picked it up and absorbed it. It's good. Easy to work with. All right. Nice. That's a big piece, right? So you're definitely a student of the game. And like earlier on, I asked you how much CrossFit you watch to see if maybe you picked it up from there, but it sounds like you owe quite a bit to Shanna.
I literally, if it was not for her, I would not be part of the pack.
Nice. All right. Sick. Okay. All right. So he's going to start on snatches. Have you watched this back since?
I have, yeah.
Okay. I can't really see the clock, but we know it's like about 1.5 seconds per snatch from ground to ground.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good. And I know some people would probably say like, oh, he's got soft knees and blah, blah, blah. People, we're trying to race and push the edges of fitness racing. So like, yeah, you might get a judge that's like, hey, but that is notable. This here too, like you're talking about wasting time. The bar has bounced off the ground once, and you're a tall guy, and your hands are already on the ground. You're beating the bar basically to the ground.
And for the pack athletes, there's a little secret. You can't see it, but my left hand there is actually settling the bar as I'm going to the ground.
Oh, I can see it now. Yeah, by your hip. By your thigh.
Yeah. So I knew that you can't. You have to jump a lot higher if the bar is bouncing and it's kind of unpredictable and you don't want to land on it. So settling that on your way to the ground is a lot faster.
Yeah, because you already have the right arm down, left arm's grabbing the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. But just even the urgency, right? You're letting go of the bar, you're coming down, the bar is bounced. Obviously, the bar is going to move faster than you to the ground, but you're still making that active effort to get down. Because I think a lot of people will wait for the bar to hit the ground and settle. And you saved about a second and a half there. So that was good. I think you're hitting the ground. I mean, if you had dead stop, like true dead stops, it'd be good. The only thing I would fix, I was watching this, is like the double bounce. And a lot of that comes from like more chest power, like plyometric chest pressing with your feet. So like look how hard your feet are like double bouncing. It's like boom, boom, boom. You know what I mean? There's like a pause there, like it, and you're fully flat on your flat foot rather than staying on like the ball of your foot, like a double under.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you got to get more on the balls of your feet. And some of that can come from flexibility and then also like pushing off the ground a little harder. You're still very good at it, but like that flat footedness slows you down a little bit. That's something that people don't think about. And then also, you know how you watch people when they cross over as they jump?
Mm-hmm.
That could help too. It could relieve some tension because you're like doing a full like pogo, like a really strict, which is great because you're not going to get any no reps. But it definitely, you can speed it up if you blur the line a little bit of like a step over crossover versus like the jumping over. But we're talking about like you're gonna get 2 more seconds back. But to you, it matters.
It does matter.
But it's still good. Something else that somebody highlighted, so we'll go back because you can hear the sound, right?
The breathing, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I just want to make sure because if you can hear it, then the people watching can hear it too. So I was talking to somebody about it because they're asking, and I'm like, well, in martial arts, like when we punch, we exhale, you know, because you're producing more force, and we also do a key up, which is producing more force. That's why martial artists yell, so you can get a little bit harder hit. And you probably learned this in wrestling and just didn't realize it, but he's using a lot of that diaphragmatic reverse tension, so the breath outward and drawing in to brace his belly and push himself away from the ground, because it happens as he's trying to press up. So he comes down, and that way he can breathe in and drive out. And what else is also really impressive was that transition. So I try to get people all the time to do this. Is like, this is great. You jump and you step. He's already there. So his right hand is reaching for the seat and like the handle, and you're already getting into the handle. Because a lot of people will put both their feet in, you know, and then try to strap and then like grab the handle. And like, depending on the workout, that's totally fine. I get, you know, like, and if you're dying, you're dying. But this was a really impressive transition because like frame by frame, he's already got his foot down. His other foot's not even touching the ground, right foot. And you're grabbing the handle. You got the handle. Then your left arm is grabbing the seat to pull it right under you. That little move there. And you still have your hand on the handle, and then you're going to put the foot in and drive back here. So there it is. Like, that's the engagement of like almost the first pull to get it up to speed. Little slip in. Could have been a little better, but I am freeze framing it. It is way faster. We'll play it in full speed once we do it. But check it out. Like, he's already got the first pull there going, and then nice recovery, and then foot in. So like what we were talking about, what I messaged you about a little bit was like you could work on this ankle pattern a little bit, but the heels down. You could bring the hips in a little closer because like you noticed you're rounding your back.
Mm-hmm.
You could drive, if the ankle mobility was better, the knee could come forward, the hips would go back a little bit more to get you in an extension, but it would still suck the hamstring into the...
I actually have extremely good ankle mobility. It's my hip mobility that's pretty poor.
All right. So it would just either way, fixing it to compress like an accordion.
Yeah.
And you're just going to get a little bit more. Like, you're already so good at rowing. Like, and it's not even like a capacity thing. You just fix your mobility there, and it's like, bam, easy. 200 extra cows per hour.
That's
So it was great. Good drive, keeps his heels down the whole time. So let's watch that transition again in real time, because it's fast, people. So let's see, we'll get this one.
And also, you grab the center of the handle when you're grabbing it with your first hand. You don't
just
don't
got
grab
little
on the
claws.
side.
You can put your little fingies in there.
That's what you do, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so 59 seconds here. You're coming over. 1 minute, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4, and he's on the rower. So I would call it 3 to 4 seconds from the opposite side of the bar, jumping over, getting to the rower, getting in, and like right to stroke. That is fast, and it's good. It looks really smooth. Like there's no bobbling. I love it. This was my favorite part of the whole video, was watching this transition here. Shannon, come on, let's go. Good. All right, so you had a lot of time here.
Mm-hmm.
2588. It's 2,588 cows per hour, people. And you had about a minute. I was like trying to zoom in when I watched this on the clock in the background to see how much time you had.
Yeah, I know. I think I sat on the rower, and when I looked at it, it was like 39 seconds as I'm pulling back on that first pull.
Because even there, you have 40 seconds left.
This is about when I started hating life. Yep.
What happens? You got it. I do think this kettlebell was too far away from you back here.
It didn't start back there.
Oh, you just jammed it backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're getting a little tired, so you're not reaching all the way in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's all right. You're at max effort.
Eat shit.
Oh, man. That's quality. All right. So after you did that, what was the debrief for you? What did you and Shannon talk about it? How did you feel about it?
We were just excited. And I messaged Shannon. I was like, can you believe that people are doubting me on the Slack channel right now that I got that 403 time? I was like,
haters gonna hate, you know?
And you had your comment. You're like, don't follow the haters. Like, you did it. It's fine. And I was like, yeah, but they don't understand. Like, that was at my worst. Like, I can do better than that. And it was like so frustrating. And like to get that finish at 159 was like so sweet. And it was just like total celebration afterwards. I mean, we were just sitting there chit chatting in the backyard. And she made a couple of comments about like the transition from the burpee to the rower, and like from the snatch to the burpee. And she's like, that was just a really good execution. And she's like, I was dying on mine. And she's like, you were dying just the same as I was on mine.
Yeah.
I was like, so we were both having a good laugh about it and how much that workout wiped us out. I think there was probably about a 40-minute recovery after that workout before it was normal talking. Like I could walk around, didn't feel like I was out of breath from just standing up.
That's what happens sometimes. That's solid. Yeah, I mean, it was really good. I just want to get you these in the comments and Sue, and it goes on, which is amazing. I think it's it's what we try to cultivate. That's the other thing too. Like a lot of what you did shows a lot of maturity in your approach, your execution, and your ability to execute. And that's what we're trying to get people. And then also your ability to suffer. And I do think you have an unfair advantage because you are with somebody who I believe can suffer better than a lot of them, which is Shanna. You do have a real good advantage there, which is great. And we talk about that all the time of like environment matters, and she's a great person to be around. And there are tons of people that can do that. She just happens to be one of them. So it's rubbing off on you. And now you're one of those people that can suffer. Do you think like how much, I mean, you're a wrestler, so you're mentally tough, but how much active mental toughness training have you done in your life, or what does that look like? Or does it just come to you and you're like, no, I'm just a hard person. I'm going to do this. Like, what have you cultivated it? Like what was that process, if there was any?
I don't know that there's like a dedicated process to it. I think early on in my life, I didn't really process a lot of emotions, so it just got bottled up.
You're like me. Okay. This makes a lot of sense.
So, you're a man, so you just bottle those emotions up and you don't deal with them. And then, later in life, I found out that there's ways that you can deal with your emotions, and, still be quote unquote hard at the same time and be tough while, still feeling,
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it was just, being able to push exactly what you're feeling in the moment down for a lot of years. But then now it's more of I know I can handle the stress of this moment right now and deal with the aftermath.
All right. So yeah, some of what you've dealt with was worse than some of this CrossFit stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, especially with the wrestling background, I wasn't a great wrestler, but I was always known for beating the crap out of people. So like, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. So like, I wrestled one guy and he said that, it's not like he's technically sound or anything. He's just hard and won't give up.
Yeah.
So I think learning to hang on for that extra half second and hoping that somebody else doesn't, is quite a big advantage.
Yeah. No, it really is. And like, I don't know what Marissa means by now it's a skill. But I do like that she mentioned that that's a good thought. Everyone is suffering, which is what you said of like how everyone's suffering. And like even Shanna saying how like she was suffering in that workout and it was the same, and so knowing that people are going through that could definitely be, and I think that's why group class is why people like it, because it helps you, like what you just articulated by yourself is like everybody's hurting, so we're all in here, and then it helps you. And then if you're super competitive, you're trying to hang on for that one, to 5 extra seconds. Or like I was doing those power sprints today and trying to get from 110 cadence to 112, and just like my legs just like wouldn't go, but I was still like being stubborn and trying. So like there's a lot to that. And if you've done it early on enough, I think you're just taking one skill that you developed and applying it to the other, probably in a more healthy way, but but it is good. I mean, wrestling, combat sport in general, like I'm familiar with it as you are. Like if you are okay with being really tough and like understanding like, okay, this is like a game we're playing, but the person that's willing to go into the deep end is the person that's going to win. It's kind of like, I mean, in wrestling it's that way. And in mixed martial arts that I did, it was that way. It's like, if I'm willing to go there, like you're either coming with me and we're doing this, or you're not, and it's like over and we're all good. I have a hard time, not all the time can I apply that to CrossFit. So like it's not as painful. Like martial arts is not as painful as like CrossFit is. No. So maybe that's the problem. But was there a seamless transition, or did you have to learn how to reapply that?
Like the mental toughness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, there was definitely not
physically painful.
There was definitely not a seamless transition. Especially with the mentality that comes with wrestling in general. It's you push hard until dead stop. I mean, rounds are only 2 minutes and you get 3 of them. And then, you get a 12-minute AMRAP going and you're dead within 4.5 minutes. Like you can't move if you try and operate at that pace. So
yeah,
like,
I did 3-minute rounds. Fran, good at Fran. Anything beyond that, I'm like, oh God, here
yes. Yeah. So that was me for a lot of years. And I joined CrossFit back when I was 18, 19. My wife now, girlfriend at the time, called me fat and took a plate of cookies away from me. Told me, go get your ass in the gym. You're not going to get any more of these. So,
motivating.
Yeah, it was. So I went and joined, and, classic, got my ass kicked by a bunch of old people in a CrossFit gym. And it pissed me off. So
yeah,
I stuck around, and there was a lot of growing pains in CrossFit because I would just leave so flat every day. But because of that wrestler mentality, I just get back up and go, one of these days I'm going to kick everybody's ass in this gym. There ain't nothing they can do about it.
That's probably what helped. Versus saying, she said you learned how to process those emotions, but previously was pushing them down what was happening in the moment. Now you can push it down in the moment on demand because you come in and out of it. Oh, okay. I see what she's saying as far as it being a process. So like, yeah, did you notice that for yourself? Like there was when you, I don't want to necessarily relate it to myself because I want you to tell your own story, but like when you're going through those types of things where you're like, okay, I just need to push this down because this is not good for me and people around me, or were you like how was that early on, that emotional stuff?
A lot of it just like related to my relationship with my dad, like through my adolescent years, teenage years. And I think I carried around a lot of anger for a long, long time. And without getting too deep into it, like I just kind of learned that you don't have to carry anger, but you can still be tough. So
do you feel like that's good, but do you feel like you channel it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because there are days where I feel like I can really channel it. Like I can like really feel myself going somewhere else and like using a lot of that pain to get me somewhere. And I do that. I mean, you even commented on the Slack about how I'm sneaky fit when I choose to. It's like,
yeah,
if I'm feeling good and it's in my wheelhouse, I can like get there and just like really like the thing we did yesterday with the group and the masters training. It's like, I can go there. And I like whooped on them, like everybody except for Cody, even though he was nervous. He even said, I was pretty nervous.
Yeah, your score with the Echo bike, man. I looked at that. I was like, "That's dark." Like that hurt.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into it, but like, we'll talk about it in a second. Do you feel like you can channel it now in a productive way? Like, I think you can. That's like a leading question, but like, do you feel that way and you can call on it and work on it?
Yeah, I definitely do. It took a little bit of time to be able to cultivate that and turn that into something useful as opposed to just something that you are angry about.
Yeah. What's your mental talk like when things start to hurt like that? Like I always joke because I think people have voices in their head and they're like battling themselves.
That's not a joke. That's a real thing.
People get scared. Like, it's like, no, yeah, there's definitely like either 1 to 2 more people inside your head going on. But what is it like inside of Jase's mind? Like, I know that's a short effort, but you can equate it to other efforts that get that hard. Like, what's that type of conversation?
So in that one, it was like I'm there reading the numbers on the screen. I'm not even paying attention to the clock at that point. And all I can do is think like, was that pull as hard as the last? And if the answer was no, then the next one needed to be harder.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So it's like, you didn't make it. It wasn't good enough, but you can do better. So like that constant, like you have a little bit more, you have a little bit more, you have a little bit more. And like earlier on in CrossFit, went back in the Intensify days, I used to have a mantra that I would tell myself when things would get really hard, which was, there is no quit, there is no fail, I will prevail. So
that's good rhyme too. Helps.
So
like rhythmic in the
it
work.
was, and part of it was like the breathing aspect, and you talked about that, forcefully exhaling just so you can inhale again. A lot of people hold their breath, so I found talking through my workouts and saying, there is no quit, there is no fail, I will prevail, there is no quit, there is no fail, and I would repeat that for minutes on end if it got real dark, and I just wouldn't quit until the end of the workout.
Yeah, that's solid. This is great. I'm actually really glad we had you on for this. I do think there are people who like have a lot of negative talk to themselves that does get them good results. But I think you get better results. I think you're really growing as an athlete and you're trying to make this jump and you're getting better and the characteristics are getting better, scores are getting better. And it's like, what's going to keep pushing you forward is obviously the good training, because you're filling the holes, like you already mentioned, like you're doing a lot of long aerobic work. Like that's smart. It's the right thing to do for you as an athlete. But on top of that, you're caring about the seconds, you're pushing yourself positively, but still using some negative aspects of your life historically as a positive driver. And I think some people get scared to do that. I think they're like, this negative thing happened to me and I had a bad mindset and I need to put that away and like close that chapter in my life. I think someone like yourself and myself too, I think we hone it in a little bit. You clearly do a much better job of honing it. I'm now motivated to try and see if I can pull that demon out and just see what happens. But I think people are scared to do that because it was a part of them that kind of ruined their life to a degree. But you're now looking back and like, yeah, but it made me what I am, made me whole. It helped me figure out who I am as a person and what I can utilize in my toolbox as I grew through life. So like, that's a really commendable thing. And I think a lot of people can't, I think that's what Marissa's meaning by now that's a skill. Like she said, like, that's what I'm saying. Now that's a skill. Like to take something like that in someone's life and make a positive thing about it, make yourself more whole because of it and channel it into something that you are very passionate about, you enjoy doing. And it requires some of that to do it. Cause I don't think you can go brain dead and like do CrossFit really well. I don't think like you could be highly positive and make it happen, but there's so much going on and there's so much time to think, similarly like with marathon running or like long distance running. But I think the intensity is a little bit lower sometimes. It depends on how fast you run, obviously. But I do think the people at the higher end are probably in a similar situation as like these CrossFitters because it's so intense. Whereas, I don't want to say that like running a 4-hour marathon isn't intense. It could be intense for some people, but I do think there is some bridge where it's like this level of intensity requires this brain acuity that is beyond this level of intensity. I do think there is those levels to that.
I would totally agree with you because, when I was in the middle of that workout, I thought I dipped down for like 2 or 3 pulls and I was like, well, this is it. Like it's going to get
over now.
It's over. I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to make it. But it was like, maybe I can give one more solid pull and get that number back up above 2,500 calories per hour. And then it happened. And I was like, okay, well, if I did it once, maybe I can do it twice.
Dude, you're so good. You just have a mind of possibility. It's something I try to coach people into all the time. Like, what if I could do it? It's like and you're doing it every rep. You're doing it every pull, which is, and I know it's a short workout and it could get really challenging in a longer workout, but I think you still have to create that. What happens in longer workouts? Do you have that same, like, because it's like threading the needle in a short workout. So like in the longer workouts, do you have that same mental focus or is it as intense mentally?
It has to change because if I try and go to that sort of a place on a long workout, obviously I'm just going to fizzle out and die like in the first small portion of that workout. So like it has to change and the execution needs to be more precise in a way, and less like just faster. It needs to, all right, let's hit these parameters. Am I within the parameters of what was designed for this workout for me? So, like that's kind of how I do it. Sort of like the TFX workout, that one pops up into mind, the chop wood, carry water with the row, farmer carry, run.
Yeah. Talk about that.
At the beginning of it, the goal pace was like a 150-ish. And like, I'm sitting there rowing and I'm like, I could see Harley on the side coaching me. And I'm like, should I row faster? And he goes, and I'm just talking to him and he goes, if you could just talk to me, you can row a little bit faster, So, I row a little bit faster, but I didn't want to gas it on that first one. So these are the parameters that we set that we knew would work in training. Just because I feel like I'm above that right now doesn't mean that I necessarily want to go too far past it. So the goal changes a little bit, and I try and hit a little bit more precise. Like these are my checkpoints. Like let's check in back at these points. So then when it got to the running, it's like try and sustain like an 8-minute mile pace or what feels like an 8-minute mile pace. Do I feel like I'm slowing down? Do I feel like I'm speeding up? Can I sustain it if I feel like I'm speeding up? So trying to hit the end of the workout as opposed to just blast through 100 meters of a run.
Mm-hmm. When you check in with yourself, what are you specifically looking in on? What are you checking? Do you have like a list or like any specifics or?
I don't know that I have a specific list. A lot of it is like emotional feel, to be honest. Like, do I feel like I can make it to the end at this pace? And if the answer is no, then, I dial it back at 20%. And then it's like, do I feel like this is really doable? And if the answer is yes, and I need to dial it up just a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. We got a question. See, this is good. We want more elaborate. Will you elaborate on the parameters you think about along the way? Is it pace? Oh, we kind of covered that, but let's go a little deeper. Like you got any more? Like that's good. Like, okay. So then just to get nitty gritty, like what is 20? How do you know what 20% is? Like I have an idea, but I'm just like, want you to share and tell people. Cause I think people do struggle with like RPE, checking in on themselves, game planning appropriately. Like it does sound like you do a really good job, and maybe you learn it from Shanna and the practice and like historical information. You're really data driven, but you're also very good at like threading the needle of data plus physical being, right? Which is really tough because like I think some people, just for an easy example, let's say they get onto the run and they're breathing super hard and their heart rate's racing, but like physically their body's moving, and they're not feeling pain in their muscles, but they would still back off because they're breathing too hard and their heart rate's racing,
Yeah.
Like
And
in that situation, what decisions would you make?
if usually I try and wait it out just a little bit longer than what your initial emotional instinct is. So like
I love that. This is good.
at TFX, like I started out the run and I was like, because I sprinted through the farmer carry because I knew that was a space where everybody was just kind of being sissies and putting down the weight and taking breath. And it's like, shut up, just run through it, get done with it, and then start your run. I gained a lot of places there, and then I took off running at what I thought was a good pace. And I was like, okay, this hurts really bad. And then I found that my heart rate was rising. I was starting to breathe more. And it's like, well, I got a 2+ mile run ahead of me. Like I can't sustain this, obviously. And then I was like, well, I obviously have to back off. So I backed off until it felt like my heart rate and breathing was sustainable and was on a flatline trend as opposed to an upward trend or a downward trend.
Did you have a watch on? Or
No, I didn't. I just by feel.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Are there any instances when you? Yeah, I don't want to push back on you because I think that was a good answer. I'm just like, how do you know it was going to keep going up? But
you don't. That's why you got those checkpoints, right? So you test it out, and if the water's a little bit too hot for you, then you turn the temperature down, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think people have to be okay with that. So like you had to turn it down with all the information you had.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel like in that moment because I like how you said you wait longer than your original emotional response to what's happening just to try and see. And then do you feel like that was the right choice? Like in that moment?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Because then we realized that I'm actually shit at running and I need to do a lot more of it.
Outside of that. Yeah. See, like Marissa says, you don't know. And that goes back to, I mean, yeah, you're right. You don't know. I mean, originally in the conversation, we were talking about having the, creativity or imagination to do that workout in one round. And it's like, okay, it's a short duration, but just even the fact that you were like, hey, I could do this in a round is impressive in itself. Because some people won't even step out like to do that. Like as a coach, I'll say some things that people like just gasp at, like, oh my God, that's crazy. It's like, is it? Like, is it that crazy? But
I don't know. In my mind, I was thinking that was like slow. I was like, man, if some of these elites got a hold of this workout, they're like minute 40, like they're done.
Yeah.
Right. So, I didn't think that was anything special. I just thought that was something that was achievable from myself. And I told Shanna before.
I think it's pretty special. I think the way it all played out.
Yeah. The way it all played out was, yeah. But I told Shanna before I started it, I said, hey, whatever happens, I'm done after this first minute because I'm not going to be able to get up after this row. So I already went into it with the mindset of like, hey, if I don't finish this row, I'm just not finishing the workout. Like it's not going to happen. So I'm going to blow it up.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's funny. It's like I'm do or die. Yoda over here. Do or do not. Sick. All right. So like after that, now so let's talk. We're an hour in, which is great. But you and Cody, I think Sophia today was like, I can't remember what she said, but basically she felt uncomfortable about the trash talk that you and Cody do. And I was like, no, he's totally fine. He's just joking.
Who was this? Was this Sophia or?
Yeah, Sophia.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, I mean, I get what you're saying. I can see how you would, and I think it does make some people feel pretty uncomfortable. But for you, and I know for Cody and myself, like I like making jokes and I don't mean anything by it. And sometimes I said some things like that I'm just joking about, but it really like hurts people. And then we got this one here, the classic right here, the classic motivational tubby comments when your wife said no more cookies for you.
Yeah.
But sometimes you make jokes when you're just talking trash that could be hurtful, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I ask Shannon all the time, I go, is this too far? Like before I send any of those send it Saturday messages out, like, I'm like, is this too far? Especially with the PED one. Like, I was like, is this too far? Like, and I asked the guy in the gym and he goes, no, it sounds like that's just right. So I fired it off. And if I ever offend anybody,
you're not trying to talk shit about someone like really personally or like their work ethic or their family, I think it's gonna be okay, especially between you and Cody. Because you guys have like entered this agreement of trash talk, which I like. I talk a lot of trash to Cody too. It's pretty funny, but
which we actually DM each other on Instagram too, and like we're actually really nice. Our DMs to each other. We're like, yeah, right on, dude. Like, go. Like when he hit that 300-pound push jerk, I was like, dude, that is absolutely phenomenal. Like I don't know if I can do that. That was incredible, and I commend him for that.
I watched this video twice. I was like, there's no way that's not 300. He was like, oh, sorry, I push press your split jerk. I was like, let's count the weights.
But I do like the trash talk. I think that there's a little bit of motivation in there. I really like in-person competition. I think it kind of drives me as a person. And even with my wife, people say like, oh, you shouldn't compete within your relationship. I said, screw that. Like we wrestled together all through high school. So she was third place in state. And she would poke at me all the time because I didn't stand on the podium at state. She's like, I placed and you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I say the same stuff in here about Marissa and myself like all the time. We go at each other. I'm like, yeah, you get mad because I'm less fit than you. I'm like, but there was that one time when I was more fit than you.
Yeah, you remember that one time, and you just hang on to that forever.
Well, recent because she, had a baby. I was saying something, and she was like, yeah, that was because I was 9 months pregnant. I was like, got to get a win somewhere.
You're like, sucks to suck. Shouldn't have got pregnant.
Oh, it's so good. But I mean, it's all right. But yeah, I think that's a good thing. You guys definitely like, you guys are cultivating a very interactive online community, which I like. I enjoy it. I tell people, I'm like, they're just messing around.
We are. We're having a whole lot of fun with it. And we're hoping that we can get our gym communities together and kind of root for each other and maybe get some social media traction going between the two accounts and have some fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah. People like that. So you guys are going to throw down. Are we going to do this live? Like each of you?
I mean, I wouldn't mind doing it live. I could do it live. I mean, I'm going to beat them either way. It doesn't really matter.
It's going to be a big production. Cody is going to do it Saturday. Marissa coaches Cody. And so she's setting him up to do it. Why don't you explain to everyone? And then I'll have my rebuttal on the whole thing of what you guys chose. Cause I think you could show something better, but keep going.
Hey, let's be very, very clear. I did not choose this. I did not. He straight up DM'd me. He said, the only way we can settle this is with a 500-meter row.
You're short. But anyways, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, we've been kind of going back and forth on our Send It Saturday pieces where we have the same workout lined up. And it used to be that he would absolutely demolish me every week, and I had no chance. But now I've been kind of catching up a little bit, and I'm on a 3-week streak right now.
Nice. Hat trick.
Yep. So I've been kind of calling out Cody with little tags like on this week's episode of Cody plays catch up, or the second week was on this week's episode of Cody blames the Masters athletes.
Oh, you did. Well, he was training with them. That one's funny though. I was like, oh, you did like 20 different workouts, dude. Like, chill.
And then, the final one of this week's episode of Cody considers taking PEDs, and we're just having fun going back and forth. And I absolutely mopped the floor with him this week, and
he wanted to do it again so badly. I think his coach told him no. I can't confirm or deny that.
yeah, my coach told me no on redoing it too.
Oh, dude, you got to listen to him. Actually, no, because it got. Well, I see that's a double-edged sword because like you took you 40 minutes to recover. You probably stripped yourself of glycogen. There's a lot of recovery. So as a coach myself, I'm on the fence of that one because we have this great podcast. You did a great effort, but then also like it does hurt your training a little bit. So there's that.
Maybe a little bit, but I was also on a
Yeah, that already hurt your training.
Yeah, I was like, it's not going to get any worse. Let's be honest.
Nice. Let's see. Marissa said mind games. Playing mind games with Cody. You got a 3-game win streak. Winners win, man. If you keep beating him, there's no way he can beat you.
Yeah, I mean, winner's going to win.
And then let's see.
I think Marissa's just a little upset that she's got the losing athlete.
Oh, Harley, your coach said it was too short as well, and he votes for acid bath. Which,
hey, I'm down with that. I'll wipe his ass in acid bath too.
Oh man, I put out, which was funny. I put out on the because like none other one of you guys were doing CrossFit in 2013, 2014, but
no,
I remember how iconic it was for Danny Nichols, if anybody knows, to do the 1K row in 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Like, because when that showed up, like now it's on YouTube and they have it on the OPEX YouTube, and that's an old video because he's doing it on a PM4. I would have laughed if it was like a PM3 because like PM4s were made, like they're still around obviously because people don't sell their rowers or anything, but from 2005 to 2009, it was like the model of the PM4, and now we use a PM5.
Small window of the PM4, and
yeah, and I was surprised it wasn't even like a PM3, but yeah, so he did it, and it was a big deal. It used to be on the OPT blog when it happened, and I literally remember because like at that time, like Instagram was fairly new, but people weren't really sharing stuff on it. So, because did Instagram come out in 2004, 2000, or 2014 or 2020? It was still pretty new, maybe even like 2012.
I was a sheltered Christian kid, so I wasn't allowed to be on any of that.
I'm really curious about that now. But anyways, so I was still like on the blogs though, like old school where you get people's, and even like .com where people would post videos. And yeah, I remember because we own a CrossFit gym, but people talking about it like it was like the greatest thing of all time for like 2-3 weeks. There was no morning chalk up at that time. So it was like through the grapevine. And if you knew, you knew, and you watched this video of Danny Nichols just rip on the rower and everyone thought it was like the craziest thing, which it was. It still is. I think that
I'm not touching that.
2.9 is fucking, that's fast. But yeah, I recommend you guys do the 1K. The only reason I told Cody today too, I was like, it's got to be something that you guys can make an error. Because I think what's going to happen is you'll do the 500, which will be, I think you guys should still do it and maybe set up something a little bit longer to settle it. But you're going to both get like a 127.3 or like 0.7. So you do have to set the monitor to count down 500.
Yeah.
That way you get the hundredths of a second because you guys are going to be so close. Because I looked.
Is that really Cody's 500 time?
No, I'm just saying. Like, well, I looked at my 500 and I've done a 127.4. That's what I have in my history, but haven't tried it in a long time.
I think the last time that I really sent a 500 meter row was 9 months ago, like a 124, 123.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be pretty fixed. Like at a certain point, like you can only get the rower to go so fast. Like that's just, you're going to cap it out.
Cody was asking me, he goes, what's the damper setting? I'm like, bro, you got to figure that out yourself, man.
Do the drag factor. Oh, sub 120. I'd love to see it, Harley. I'd love to see it.
I think it's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, I thought he's talking about himself. He can't do that.
I didn't realize that was Harley commenting on that thing. So,
yeah.
Because he didn't put his freaking name on it.
Incognito. I
yeah.
blew the whistle on him. Anyways. All right. So acid bath is on the table. Maybe we'll come up with some other one.
I mean, the acid bath that I have programmed for Sunday is after that in the afternoon, and it's a little bit different. It's the Northwest Mountain Championship. I think it's their final event. It's like acid bath, 50 drag rope double unders, acid bath.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's fine. So hard because like I hate things like that sometimes because like the purist in me of CrossFit, like when you got something good that's really
don't touch it.
Yeah, like when So in 2014, when they did double grace, I think that was acceptable, or like even double DT. I think that's acceptable for the athletes that are doing that. But then you see it happen in like CrossFit gyms and everything else, and you're like, dude, no one should be doing this. Like, what's your grace time? And they're like, 6 minutes. I'm like, okay, that's 5 a minute. Like, you should not be doing double grace and doing it in 15 minutes because your gym owner is not smart. So it's like one of those things where I just sometimes I'm like, don't make it any harder. Just like have them test acid bath. Impress me with intensity, not like difficulty or harder loading. But I don't know.
I do know that the longer the workout goes, the more of a chance Cody has. So when he
we'll keep it short. We'll keep it short.
Yeah. So when he put up the 500-meter row, I literally messaged him back. I'm like, dude, you understand? Like, this is a straight power output test. Like,
did you do the 400-meter run test? Did Harley ever do that?
What's the 400-meter run test?
It's like 400-meter for time.
Oh no, I hate those.
I know we did it here when a bunch of people were here. It was pretty lit because we went out to the track. Sometimes we do some tests here on site with people, and we don't like tell all the coaches to do it because it's just hard sometimes to coordinate and make sure that.
Yeah.
And then so that it was sometimes also to the environment and everything else, but like we all did it and we just like straight died. Cody whooped on us in that.
I'm guessing Cody probably got like a 56, 57.
Yeah, I think it was like that. And he would have to come on here and tell you his exact time, or Marissa could. But I did it 59 seconds. Everyone was very impressed. Still got it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. They should have done double acid bath for a relatively local comp. It just slows the rate of travel down. Yeah. It's too slow. I want to see pain and suffering. This was fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
I forgot what I told Marissa, but I don't know how much .com you look at. You probably don't look at any. No. We like to look at a lot of .com and old .com. Marissa found this workout. I do think at the games they might do Nancy, but now with Amanda, it's kind of tough because they have the snatch, which is overhead squat. And so, but when Dave was interviewing Emily Rolfe, he told her his favorite CrossFit workout is Nancy. And then when he was doing a week in review or day in review now that he's doing, he was saying how they were testing his favorite CrossFit workout, and they've done it before. And they have done Naughty Nancy at the games in 2014, where they had the berm run.
Yep.
And they had to do a heavier overhead squat. So I would not be surprised if they do Nancy again. But Marissa did find Cindy XXX on .com when she was looking for some stuff, just like inspiration. And we've been looking through it. Shut Up and Scribble has been doing a lot of, like, they go through and just pull some old stuff. But what I found most interesting was in 2002, there was this workout, and Cindy XXX also has it. It's like, film the workout. If you do, Cindy XXX, I remember the parameters, but there's a lot of them with different parameters. Film the workout. You have to go unbroken every set and finish in under 20 minutes or something. And they would have given you $500. And there's another workout she found that's like, do this with these things, film it, and we'll send you a t-shirt.
Did anybody get it?
Like, I don't know. I asked her to look at the comments, but like all the comments are kind of scrubbed from like the old school. I wish they didn't. I wish the old school comments and scores were still in there. I'd have to double check. I don't want to say entirely that all of the scores are taken down, but like they've transitioned the website so many times, I could see them not bringing over the comments.
I think all that I think all that data is super valuable and like fun to look at.
Yeah.
Just like from the evolution of CrossFit from its very beginning days. I'd like to see a few more recalls from like early CrossFit or maybe even 2016 CrossFit.
They're going to do Amanda 45. So we'll see. That's 2017 workout.
Yeah. So I really like that stuff because then you get to see the evolution of the athletes and
or no evolution.
Or no
this
evolution.
This is fixed now. This is where we're at.
Yep. And I mean, it could even be with the way that they do the sport. Some things come up like strength, some things go down. Like if you just look at the average weight of a CrossFit athlete across the years of the games, like it's been slowly rising. And even more so, I think when Adrian Bosman was programming it. So like, I wonder if now that Castro's back, maybe it's going to drop down 10 pounds or something because he favors so much grunt work, you know?
Yeah, which is actually interesting that you picked up on that because, yes, Adrian, because everyone talks about how much he loves gymnastics. But if you look at the odd object complexity and loading parameters for some of that stuff, like, yeah, you got to be a hefty boy and girl to move that stuff, you know, and then like, yeah, sure, you still got to do some of these harder gymnastics, but like, okay, cool, bar pullovers and like, what else did he do? The wall facing with the ballistic blocks.
I think the pig chipper was a really good example of that because they had this super high volume gymnastics crap going on, but the people who won were the people who could flip that pig.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. People forget that. So like, it's really interesting to see. And I sometimes I feel like the pundits CrossFit, I mean, we're CrossFit pundits at this point, but kind of get it wrong sometimes. Just not looking deep enough. So that's cool that you picked up on that. But yeah, because of that, I was thinking of like, I like what you guys are coming. I was like, oh man, Marissa, how do we do a challenge? And then be like, all right, you do this with this, and then you get $500.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys could do that with a pack and like with a t-shirt. Like,
yeah,
you get to be the trash athlete for the week.
Oh, that'd be cool. That's, hey, you're adding to the idea. I like that. Yeah, it's hard because, like you said, you got to track the progress of people, and like if there's growth or no growth. So that might be inappropriate because like we did the 21-15-9 complex from the 2014 games. I want to say, oh man, I don't even remember when, but it was a little bit ago, before semifinals, 4 quarters and stuff. And I remember I did the workout, finished, and I was like, oh man, I want to check the games. And I would have been like 21st out of the 40 guys. And I was like, dude,
good.
Well, but it is like, you think like what you said though, like at the time, like if you had me do that in 2014, not the case, you know, but then how much I've changed just as an athlete and like better training programs, being more intentional, getting stronger, getting more endurance, like the growth. Even though I'm getting older, it's still really cool to see like, oh, cool. I would have been, you know, get in a time machine. I saw a DeLorean to be competitive at the CrossFit Games 2014 in one event though, but it is interesting to look at that. And I do really enjoy that about CrossFit. As long as you have all the skill requisite and you're not scaling the workout, I don't like that. I want to have a bias against.
No, the standard is a standard. Shut up and do it.
Yeah, unless you can't, but then you have no business doing that games workout. You know, if you're scaling classes and stuff because you're trying to get fit, I totally understand that. But if you're like, I want to do the 21-15-9 complex, but you can't snatch 155, don't do that.
I am specifically speaking towards competitive CrossFit. If you want to compare scores, it has to be apples to apples. Otherwise, there's no business comparing it because it's just a different workout.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have to have the caveat of like transition and stuff. But I remember the day we did it, my bar was pretty far from the pull-up bar. So every time I went over, so it's fair enough, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? Judge me. Anyways, that was good. Thanks for your mindset coaching. I think people like always want mindset coaching or mindset talks. And we've talked a lot about mindset on these calls recently. It's just like the number one thing that comes up. And rightfully so. There's a lot going on especially once you start getting really good and you can do all this stuff in CrossFit. But it's as simple as like what you articulated, you know, like, oh, okay, that pull didn't go the way I wanted on the rower. So let's see if I can do it on the next one. And then on the next one, and then on the next one. And, you know, the little pieces of checking in with yourself on longer enduring things. And like, can you change what you're doing or you got to stay or you got to bring it back down? And like waiting a little bit longer than your emotional response. Cause the knee jerk reaction, like you said, is like, stop, like slow down. This is too hot. It's like, hey, maybe I should go a little bit longer and see what happens, you know? Because like in the scenario you talked about, it's great. Like it could have been farmer's carries, could have been sandbags, could have been a loaded run into an unloaded run. It could have been, and you're that high blood pressure and like occlusion from the loaded tension that's adding more to that run or whatever you're doing. And then you deload it. There's going to be a moment where your body's got to reset kind of and like learn like, okay, shit, we're not under tension anymore. It'll start recirculating. It'll clear some things. And if you don't give it enough time, you might make a bad choice, like you were saying, and you might have gone too slow or you might have gone too fast or whatever it was. So just like sitting in that uncomfortable spot for a second or two longer than you would normally like and learning like, okay, what does this feel like right now? And then moving forward. So a lot of like really good stuff that you could dive into even deeper. But that was good. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
And I appreciate your performances too. Phenomenal. And your shit
Thanks.
talking. You guys are doing great. You guys are the best. You guys make the pack. I don't even know. I quit. You take over. It's great.
Yeah, step aside, Todd.
Yeah,
Cody and I are taking over.
I appreciate it. You guys, thank you very much. All right, guys. Remember, as always, like, subscribe, comment, help us. We got 5 viewers. This is amazing. Probably the most viewers we have. And
Where do I like and subscribe at? Because I
on
should probably
YouTube.
do that.
On YouTube.
YouTube? Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, we're gonna get ready for the CrossFit Games. If you missed out on buying a shirt, they're gone. we'll probably we'll do a re-up. I gotta talk to Manny. He actually just texted me, so we'll see what he's.
That Pack Athletes or Trash shirt has been calling my name.
I know it's a good shirt.
That's a really good shirt. Are you going to the games?
I'm not going to the CrossFit Games. Going to the Masters.
Okay.
Games. Yeah, this will be the 2012 till now. This will be the second games I miss. Individual games. And I'll probably miss them forever. Because unless I have someone go, I'm not really going to go. Because I've watched so many, I don't know, maybe one day, but I like going and coaching, like being in the thick of it.
I think Cody has a real shot at it.
Cody? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I tell him like once or twice a month. I'm like, dude, like 4 years of this, like when you're 24, 25, you got a shot too. Hey, we're already on here. I think maybe Paige and Cody, saying
Team up.
you know what I'm saying? Right height,
Yeah.
a little bit of psychopath. It's perfect.
I was thinking of that today. I was like, man, how good would the odds be if they came over to the West Coast?
At this moment in time, it's hard to say. I have really evaluated the team this last year, like the whole West and East team competition. It would be easier to qualify to semis, but I think looking at some things, once you get there, it's the same odds.
Gotcha.
And if you have the attrition of some of the mayhem teams, like you had this last year, and if TTT hangs it up, because I don't want to talk shit because they're very good, and I like Jordan and I like Chris, but they're not they're the right 4 people, and that's why they did it, and they're very fit, but there's nothing outstanding about them, and they did really good. I think the roll of the dice of the workouts really went in their favor too, with a lot of endurance style workouts. But I think it was the right 4 people for that team, that TTT team. And I think there are some other teams that it was just the right 4. And that's what made the difference, not necessarily the region or anything else.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. But then there's teams, that like Harley's team, they did really well in quarters. And then, that's the wall facing were tough and they have a deficit there. The endurance and stuff is tough. They have a deficit there. And it's just the workouts they got were not great for them, and that's okay. And they did a phenomenal job. And it's what if there were different workouts? What would have happened? Where would they have finished? It's always this what if. It's a roll of dice, even for individuals. But I do think I think on the team side, generally, no matter the workouts, if you have the right 4 people with the right dynamic, the good fitness level is all the same. I think height has a lot to do with it. I don't think people realize that, an arm length. It's because cycle times on the worm,
anything
patterns,
synchro.
Yeah. And just the anthropometrics of running, rowing, biking, those all matter, because you're ultimately if you guys were all the same wingspan, torso length, femur length, height, which is impossible to do. But if you guys were, the speed that you go on the bike would be very, very similar across the board. The speed that you go on the rower would be very similar to how fast you handstand walk. So what happens is it's when you do intervals by yourself, if you're doing an interval style or synchro style workout, you're doing that interval sustainably exactly at the pace that you like to do it at. So you're never waiting for anyone. And a lot of that has to do with biomechanics and anthropometrics, I think, because at that level, fitness is fitness, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because at the affiliate level, if I go and partner with somebody for a Friday partner WOD, if it's some sort of bike interval workout and we're both doing 20 and 20 on the bike, like that poor soul is going to get crushed just because
I know
they're not going to have rest time, and
Yeah.
if it's something where it then goes to toes to bar and I got this little 5-foot dude who can just, crush out toes to bar, when I hop up there, like my interval and cycle speed just can't go as fast as him and I won't be able to hang on, and then I'll get crushed.
Yeah.
So it's like having similar athletes that aren't going to push the other one too hard, too fast and make them fizzle out early. I do agree with that. It's really important.
Yeah. And even just finding a rhythm, because like when you're by yourself, you find a good rhythm in a workout, and like where you're outside of like burning up and everything else, like there's a natural cadence that you can't, if you're very good, like some of the best athletes in the world can do this on team, and they'll change their cadence and their speed for somebody else. But typically what I see with underdeveloped teams is they'll do that. They'll change the cadence to accommodate what's happening or somebody's, but then you're just not in this nice rhythm. And someone, like you're saying, like, even though they're all really fit, someone's like, that it just wasn't really a workout, or like kind of thing, or like someone's in a better mental state because the intensity on their self and their load is less than the person next to them because this cadence isn't right. And but they're not going to say anything, and no one's going to say anything because they, like, half the time, most of the time, people are like, I just want to be on the team. Like, or like, I don't care who it is, or I really want to be on the team with this person or whatever. And you ignore those things that are happening and not realizing how much is damaging your opportunity for when we're talking about like being successful and getting into the games. If that's the end goal and the outcome that you're looking for, you have to look at those intangibles that I've noticed over the years with coaching a lot of teams and watching some of the teams at the highest level, being part of, Brute, working with teams. Those are things that you learn through experience as a coach, and you can see them rather quickly. And whether people want to agree to that or not, it's up to them. And I just laugh sometimes when they tell me something like, okay, you got to figure it out. Good for you.
That plays right back into the mentality of CrossFit. Like, do you have a good mentality and relationship with your teammate as well to be like, hey, like, I can't sustain this. And if you can't speak up like that, like your team's probably not going to do very well.
Yeah. Or you expect, like, I don't know, someone like to mind read you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, you should be able to see that I'm dying, right? I'm breathing heavy. We're all breathing heavy. Like,
yeah. Paige is a good example, right? Like, I had to tell her team, she does this thing where she like bends over and like clasps her hands, like crosses her arms. And I know this because I coach her and I've coached her for a long time. And she's not dying. That's just like her resting posture, I guess, if you want to say. But if you tell her like, hey, Paige, we're going in 3, 2, 1, she'll stand right up and go. But like, you have to learn that over time, and that takes time. Or, even if I tell you as a coach, like, this is how she'll operate, you do this, she will do it. Then you also have to take ownership, and you have to be the athlete. If you're paired with her, to be like 3, 2, 1, let's go. And you got to go. Right. And then that takes practice too. Because sometimes if you're dying and she's bent over, you might be like, oh, it's good, she's like dying, I'll just chill right here for a second. It's like, yeah, but she's ready to go if you're ready to go. And then you guys are losing ground. So yeah, there's a lot of variables there that have nothing to do with, gaining 3 seconds on your transition.
I honestly think that team is so much more interesting to watch than individual.
I do too. I'm glad you brought it up.
I think that team is probably going to be the future of CrossFit at some point. As to when it is, I don't know, but I really do.
I think you're right. It could be if like the powers that be put more emphasis on it. I also think the masters, honestly, like I said this after Legends and watching this last year at Legends, and having more people qualify to that and having lots of different groups now as a coach, that I'm like, dude, these masters it's the same. It's watching. They're just old. They're just wrinkly. Like, it's, I say that as a joke, but like, really, it's no different, honestly, than watching like Tia and Matt, to be perfectly honest, at the tip of the spear, the highest level.
Yeah.
It's just, they need to, like, the announcers, the video, the live streams, they need to learn how to really just like show that and showcase it better. then I think people will get on board, like you're saying, especially the teams. If they had people like Adrian Conway does a really good job because he was on team and he does a good job commentating anyways, but like educating and telling people like what's going on from a really smart and learned perspective would make it really fun, I think.
I agree.
So
Totally agree.
but that's a lot of work, man.
It is a lot of work. But yeah, and the programming. I think creating programming where everything comes down to a focal point at the end and there's some really tight races, like just watching the Olympics, you know, everything goes from the heat races all the way down to the final in track, and these final guys are all within like 2-3 seconds, so you get this massive pack crossing the line all at once. It's super fun to watch.
Well, everybody complains about the cuts though. So crazy to me. There are people who go to Marissa and I say this all the time. There are people who go to the Olympics for an 11-second race and they might get cut in their first race. What is everyone mad about? Oh, I want to compete. I want to do more. It's like, no, that's sport, man.
Not everybody gets a trophy, bro. Go home.
Tell that to Brent Fikowski. He did get cut one year. He will get mad. Don't say that to him. If you ever see him and it comes up, don't say it.
Don't say it. Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of not everybody gets a trophy, just because that makes getting the trophy even more special. And then when it is your time and your moment to earn that reward, you really get to savor that and have it for yourself.
I like that. See, I love that. I think people will think it's like, yeah, we won't get into that, but I love that. I think that's good. That's good. We should have more of that because it makes it better. It's why the Boston Marathon has minimums. Makes it more special. Even though people are trying to take those minimums away, I'm like, then it's not gonna be as special.
I think also standing on the bottom of that pyramid where there's many people better than me in CrossFit. Like I have a little bit of pride knowing that I've pushed up the top of that pyramid a little bit. So
that's good. Yeah, that's great. That goes back to your mental toughness. You like pushing up, getting better and better and better. It's good. All right. Well, we'll have you on again. You got a good sound system, very articulate.
Yeah, that's why I didn't want to just call you on my cell phone, man.
Great. You should do this. Yeah, and I'm not joking. You should look at radio. Got a good voice for it.
I got a good face for it too.
It's like, people are seeing us though. That's how the world is.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, Jase,
YouTube channel.
I'll catch you later.
All right. Thanks, Todd, for the talk.
Leaderboard, and we'll see how this 500 goes. I'm hoping for a tie.
It's not gonna, dude. Let's be honest. Cody weighs maybe like what, 195?
No, he's heavier than that.
How much does he weigh?
I think he's like 210.
Oh, he weighs more than me.
I think so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Ask him. I think he's definitely pretty heavy.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I was just thinking from like a pure numbers standpoint. Like I think a lot of my max lift and power output tests are higher than his. So like I thought it was wild for him to even approach a 500-meter race.
All right, well, good. I'm glad that he wants to do that.
So like this is going to be a really tough challenge for him. And even Shanna said she's like, you just outmass that guy. Oh. So
all right,
we'll see what happens.
Cody, you heard it. You better get some more mass, dude. You shouldn't have said no to that bagel earlier.
All right.
All right, guys.